Hey guys, Rebel Engine 95, corner live from the Milk County Prison Cell. Today I'm going to do another death battle analysis. It's one that I thought I had done or had meant to do way back when, and I guess I just forgot about it, and never did it. So let's do it now. This is Generator Rex Salazar from Generator X versus Max Steel from Max Steel, and I'm using the name Max Steel as the character, unlike with Rex, where I'm going to be using actually like Rex, where I'm going to be using Generator Rex in the title, even though his name is not Salazar, just because people know what you're talking about. They're not going to know Rex Salazar. Not as many people are going to know Rex Salazar, just from the name. Let's start off with a pretty simple bio of Rex here. Apparently every person in the world every living thing in the world has tiny machines within their bodies called nanites, and Rex, unlike most people, has a body full of entire active nanites. So, he's capable of, basically producing machinery from his body, whenever he feels like it. And has an incredible range of machines. He can make drills, saws, swords, guns, giant fists, giant feet, bikes, jets. He can pretty much produce whatever he wants out of his body. As on top of that, he's a technopath of sorts, where if he touches a machine, he can kind of communicate with it in a way, and he's able to sort of, he can kind of control them, or he can shut them down. And then anything with nanites in it, which would be, he can also shut down active nanites. Now, most of the time, nanites will turn something into, like, a monster. Whereas in Rex, he's just, gets the cool side of it. But yeah, everyone else is, if a person gets nanites, they turn into a giant abomination, and Rex has to go and shut down their nanites, essentially curing them. And also with his nanite progression, he gets a healing factor. He gets where he can heal from what are considered non-lethal injuries, relatively quickly, and I think it's more along the line, like, some things that would be considered lethal over time are not lethal to him, like things that would kill you very slow, like, I guess if an organ gets I mean, they never really go into that, but it's like if an organ gets ruptured that over time would kill you, it wouldn't be lethal to him necessarily. Some things like that. He's got that kind of healing factor where he doesn't heal like instantly, but he does heal, significantly quicker. Things that would take, days to heal would take him, minutes, maybe hours. And on top of that, he has an insane durability to the point where he's resisted, things that would far exceed human limitations. So he's been smashed through buildings. He's been blasted through walls. He's been hit with blows that would take down superhuman opponents. So and this is all because of his nanites. This isn't like it's not like Guts where he just happens to survive everything. He's also been launched into space with the what was it? The what was it called? Like the Cosmic Stairway or something? It's some name like that, where he got launched into space. It was an elevator kind of device that was designed to have somebody go through space from Earth to a space station in like less than 3 minutes, right? He had gone in that without the proper equipment or being strapped in, and was subjected to the G-forces that, at that speed, it was said that it would kill a normal person. And he survived it and kind of just got back up, and was like, all right, well, whatever. Now, part of that might be due to the healing factor. There is also just an insane durability factor to it. He's fallen off of cliffs and everything, too. And then he does have, and that is because of his active nanites. Six, I believe, has some active nanites, and that's why he's able to achieve all these superhuman feats. Rex has all of his nanites active, and that's why he's much stronger. He's been able to. I think after the series went on, he was able to use multiple machines at once. So he could use like giant arms and giant legs, and then something having to do with his nanites like being overactive, caused him to go into a full Evo mode, which was like which was like all of his machines at once, like in a giant robot suit that he was like subconsciously controlling. So yeah, that's Rex. He's got this, he's got these. He just makes a bunch of. He does machines, right? And then there's Max Steel. So Steel is actually the separate computer robot, and Max is the person who is wearing a suit that he can no longer take off. So he is the son of an Earth woman and an alien warrior father. Because of this, he is from a race of aliens that emit a type of energy, right? And this is called turbo energy. So the suit he wears and Steel, the robot that he uses, are alien tech that are powered by turbo energy, right? And because of that, he's able to, the suit gives him, increased speed, strength, and durability. The suit itself is more durable just because it's made of an alien material. But the speed and durability, I think, are just, they're not superhuman, but they are, they are above the average person, is what it says. I think it puts him at like peak human level, if I'm not mistaken. Because I've seen this kid like do flips and shit, and like stuff that is not normal, but it's not necessarily superhuman. And then Steel is able to modify the suit to take on multiple forms. So he's got a strength form where he can lift, I think it was like 200 tons or something. He's got a speed form of where he can run supersonic speeds. He's got a flight form of where he can fly at similar speeds. He's got the cannon form, I believe it's called, where he's just basically a giant suit of armor that can launch itself at people. He's got a clone form where he can make multiple copies of himself. He's got the stealth form where he's invisible and doesn't make sound when he touches something. He's got fire, blade form, the spike form. He's got a multitude of different things that he can throw at his opponents. He also has the turbo blaster, the turbo blade, turbo lash, and the turbo drills, though those aren't necessarily meant to be weapons. On top of that, he is a skilled martial artist, but there's a downside to all of this. He requires Steel to transform, right? So he needs, he's stuck in whatever form he's in whenever he's, away from Steel. And the other thing is that these suits do use up large amounts of energy, of turbo energy. And sometimes, even though his body is constantly producing turbo energy, he does, he can run out, right? He can have it be drained from him faster than he can generate it. I believe it said that if he was away from Steel for 8 hours, then he would die, right? From overproduction of energy. So, these suits can drain energy very quickly, though, whereas, 8 hours he can produce too much, but, he does that's over a span of a long period of time, over where fights normally last a couple minutes, and these things can drain all of his energy if they're extended. So, um, who do I think would win this? Oh, and I know there's multiple incarnations of this series. I know there's a comic book, and I know there's, the show in the 90s, and there's the remake in 2013, and all of that, and, they all had different things, like, one of them said eventually he just had fully technological. I'm just gonna go with the basic, simple premise here. Okay, so Max has fought off cyborgs. He's fought off Ultralinks like himself. That's what the species are called when they're a piece of technology. They're called Ultralinks. Um, so who do I think would take this? So Rex has a Green Lantern Ben 10 fight where he can generate multiple machines at once, whereas Max has to switch between modes manually. The other advantage is that Rex doesn't really have any limitation to, using up any source of energy, whereas Steel, Max Steel can, most of his better suits require more energy than the last, or not than the last, but than his base form. So, we've seen him, be in a fight and be able to use all of these suits that have huge amounts of energy. But we've also seen him, but we've never really seen him, like, switch between all of these suits that require a lot of energy. So, whenever that happens, it's, we can assume that he can't do that because he, wouldn't, because it's, if they all use up the same amount of energy, and it's like, oh, I can only be in this form for X number of minutes, then we know that he can't, that should remain constant. Also, the suit that Max wears is self-repairing. He, however, isn't, whereas Rex, his actual physical body gets healed. Now Max has been able to, he said he could run, 30 kilometers and not feel tired, and he could, I think he said he could lift like several hundred pounds or something in his normal form, right? So the suit puts him at pretty much like peak human level, whereas Rex's base ability is above human. Now, I do think that Max, a lot of his suits are more powerful than what Rex has. However, as we've seen, Rex can take like a hell of a beating, and that's without, the assistance of his actual machines. So, I feel like this is kind of a war of attrition going on here, where it's like, will Max be able to kill Rex before his energy runs out? The other thing to take into consideration is that Rex is a technopath. And though I don't think he could shut down or, control Steel, because Steel is a sentient machine, so it has like a will of its own. But I feel like he could at least like disrupt it, disrupt Steel so that he couldn't function as properly. And in that case, I think that's probably, another advantage in Rex's favor. So, Rex just having the durability and the healing that are, slightly more convenient, I would say, to have. Convenience is probably the better word. To have over Max's. And also, that, like I said, Rex can probably match each of Max's suits, but Rex can also use two at a time, whereas Max has to use a different suit for a different situation, right? So as soon as that situation changes, he has to switch over to adapt, which is going to cost more and more energy. So I feel like Rex has a few key advantages here, and I think that probably tilts it in his favor. This would be a pretty close fight. I wouldn't say like, oh well, Rex definitely has this, but I'd say looking at it, I think Rex probably just, like I said, has those advantages going for him. He has those over Max, and I feel like if he were to win, if Rex were to win, it would have something to do with that. And I feel like if I had to pick a winner between these two, I would say Rex. So yeah, I feel like that's probably the way that that would go. But yeah, finally got this one out of the way. I can cross this one off. Got a lot of things I gotta cross off on these, fights I've been meaning to do. But yeah, until then, I'm gonna keep doing them every 3 weeks, and I'm gonna try to keep doing this between them. But yeah, Verbal Engine 95. See ya.